Hey guys, this is notes for your for 7-3, 7-4. Some things we learned in class. We learned how to solve systems of equations. So today, what I want you to do is take notes on the third way to solve systems of equations, which is elimination. So we've done graphing in class, we've done substitution, and we've also, the last thing that we're going to do is this method. And elimination is exactly what it sounds like. You're going to basically eliminate either the x or the y. And let me show you how. Here's a problem. Here's a system of equation. There's two equations. And the idea is when you do elimination, you want to get both the x and the y on the same side. So here you see the first equation, x and y are on the same side. The second equation, the x and the y are on the same side. What you're trying to do is get either the x or the y to be opposites. So here you have 7 and 7, but here you have positive 2y and negative 2y. Well, if you add, you're allowed to add the system. And if you add both equations together, what happens is positive 2 and a negative 2, when you add them, totally cancel out, or in other words, eliminates. But you still have to add everything else. So 7x plus 7x is 14x. Bring down my equal sign. And 2 plus a negative 30 ends up being negative 28. Last step is to divide both sides by 14, and you end up with x, since you only have an x left, equals negative 2. And remember, that means there's going to be a solution, so we have to find the y. And to find the y, we're going to have to plug the x back in to either one of these equations. So I'm going to go ahead and plug it into this equation. So 7 times negative 2, so you get negative 14, plus 2y. And remember, it doesn't matter which equation you plug it in for, equals 2. So, add 14 on both sides, you get 2y is equal to 16, so y equals 8, because you divide by 2 on both sides. So my answer, this solution of my system is negative 2, 8. Here's another one. Here you see that we don't have any opposites, but we do have two of the same. We have 4a and 4a. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the entire one of the equations by a negative 1. And when you do that, you end up with negative 4, negative 3b, and negative 10. And now, I'm going to go ahead and erase that so we don't get confused. Now that I have opposites, I'm going to add them. And when you add them, the a's are going to eliminate. Positive b plus a negative 3b is negative 2b. 2 plus a negative 10 is negative 8. Going to solve for b by dividing by negative 2, and you get an answer of 4. Then I'm going to plug it back in the equation. So you get 4a plus 4 equals 2. Okay, could have plugged in the bottom equation. Subtract 4 on both sides. You get 4a equals negative 2. Divide both sides by 4. You get negative 2 divided by 4, which simplifies to a negative 1/2. There are some times when you're doing elimination, and you'll notice that you don't have opposites, because that's negative 1y, and you don't have the same. Those are 2, and that's a 3. So what you're allowed to do, because you don't change the value of an equation if you multiply everything by one thing, what we got to do is we're going to multiply one of these equations so that we do have opposites. So when I look at these two equations, I see one of them has a negative 1y, and the other one has a negative 2y. Well, I want this one, instead of being negative 1, there's an easy way to get that to say positive 2. So if I multiply this entire equation by a negative 2, remember you got to multiply every single thing by that negative 2, and I rewrite the equation. I didn't actually change the equation, I just made it look differently. What I have is opposites. Right here, I have a negative 2y and a positive 2y. So now that I have opposites, I'm ready to eliminate by adding the two equations together. 3 plus negative 4, negative x. This eliminates. 1 plus 2 is 3. And then I divide both sides by negative 1, and you end up with negative 3. Now, the last step is to remember to solve. Plug the x back into one of these equations. I'm going to use the bottom one now. So instead of 3 times x, it's 3 times negative 3. So I get negative 9, and then I'm going to bring down the rest of the equation. Minus 2y equals 1. Add 9 to both sides, you get negative 2y equals 10. And then divide by negative 2, and you get y equals a negative 5. Sometimes when you look at an equation, you can't just multiply one of them by one thing in order to get opposites. So there's nothing I can do to this equation so that either the x's is negative 5 or the y is negative 2. So in this case, you have to find a common multiple. So I can either get both my x's to say 10 and negative 10, or it might be easier to get my y's to say positive 6 and negative 6. So you can choose to multiply one of the equations by one thing. So I'm going to get this to say negative 6. So I'm going to multiply it by 2. And I'm going to get this one to actually be positive 6. So I'm going to multiply it by negative 3. So when I multiply all the terms by 2, you get 4x minus 6y equals 42. And when I multiply this equation by negative 3, you get negative 15x plus 6y, see, notice I just got a opposites, is equal to negative 75. Now that I have opposites right here, I can add them. Those eliminate. I'm left with negative 11x, and then negative 75, and a positive 42 become a negative 33. Divide both sides by negative 11, you get your answer of x equals 3. Plug it back into one of the equations, any of them. You could either use these two down here, your new ones, or I'm going to use the original ones. I'm going to use this one right here. So instead of 2x, you get 6. 6 minus 3y equals 21. I subtract 6 from both sides, so I'm going to do that over here. So you're left with negative 3y is equal to, I subtracted 6 on both sides, so you get 15. And y equals, divide both sides by negative 3, you get negative 5. So now what I want you to do, and please go back to some of those slides and watch that video again if you need to, but what I want you to do is pause the video once I turn the page and try these problems on your own. And as soon as you're done, I'm going to then hit play, and then I'm going to have the answers up. So go ahead and hit pause now. All right, so here are the answers. For the first one, I try to get rid of the y's, eliminate the y's. You might have done something a little bit different if you tried to get rid of the x's. You could have found that you could have got one x to 12 and the other one to negative 12. I multiplied this by 5 and this by 4 so that I can have a negative 20y and a positive 20y. When I did that, after multiplying everything else, you ended up with these eliminate. This becomes 31x equals 93, 85 plus 8. X equals 3. I plugged it back in one of the equations. I didn't show it, but you end up getting y equals negative 2. If you did it a different way but got the same answer, then you did it right. Next one, I noticed that you have 2x and 2x, so I multiplied the entire equation by negative 1. You can see I changed everything to its opposite. And then when I eliminated the x's, you get 9y equals 18, y equals 2. And then I plugged it back in and got x equals 9. All right, I hope that helps.